Hello, and welcome to today's discussion. We are live with wonderful women who are here to discuss entrepreneurship. It's just amazing how all these women being brought together in one platform, what technology can do. My name is Lucy Kiden. You can all call me Lulu. And with me, I have guests. And these guests are here to have a discussion on entrepreneurship. We are on the South Sudan Women Intellectual Forums platform. This is where we come together as women to just share on our issues and just speak as women to get ourselves in that place where we understand each other and we can support each other and keep each other accountable. So today we have Zul Kamis. Why don't you just wave so we can see you? Awesome. And then we have Eva Yai. Eva, kindly wave. Aha. We have Estella Malik. Estella, can you hear me? Awesome. And then we have Miss Esther Ambrose and Mary Fozia. All these women are wonderful South Sudanese women who are entrepreneurs in one way or the other. And so I'm going to briefly talk about them and introduce them. I'll be using my phone to get the details, if you don't mind. So before I actually get there, I need to tell you a bit about this particular forum. This is a forum that has brought together women, and we have all kinds of discussions that take place. And today we are strictly focusing on uh, on entrepreneurship. It's actually a very key issue. And if you look at the current situation right now, we've had, the dollar issue. Just nod if you've read about it and it has affected you in some way. The dollar went down and our pounds has gained, but then still it has affected us in one way or the other. There's an advantage and then there's a disadvantage. So it's pretty timely for us to talk entrepreneurship right now. Now, before I get deeper, who is a woman entrepreneur? Well, I have a definition here, which I'm going to share with you. Now, women entrepreneurship is a process where women organize all factors of production, starting from the very first step all the way to the end. And they undertake risks, they make certain decisions that are uncertain, and like the risk could be actually really, really dire. And then they also provide employment to other people. Yeah, they do that. And so this definition applies. It's never really been based on the sex factor, but we're just trying to talk about women right now. Now, according to the government of India, a woman entrepreneur is defined as an enterprise owned or controlled by women or a woman, and having a minimum financial interest of 51% of the capital and giving at least 51% employment generated to women. So if it is an organization, that means a woman owns 51%, which is more than half. And on top of that, women control the employment by 51%, which is more than half. So that way you can now term that organization as, women owned, women led, an entrepreneurship entity led by women. And so women entrepreneurs will have to make certain decisions which are very critical to the business. They will also have to, draft policies on how to produce, what to produce, the quality. It's very, very important. And then on top of that, they have to know what they want to produce, where to produce it, how to produce it, and where to sell it. So you realize it's actually a very huge task, and we have our young women actually doing that. Now, I'll continue to talk about women entrepreneurship as we continue to go throughout the program. But for now, let me just introduce our guests fully. Now, Miss Eva Yai, who waved at us earlier, could you please wave again? She is the co-founder and executive director at Go Girls ICT Initiative. She holds a master's in science in information system with a specialty in ICT4D, which is ICT for development and innovation from Kobe Institute of Computing in Japan. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science from Uganda Christian University and previously worked as a researcher and initiator of project director at the South Sudan Peace Hack Camp project in Capital Movie. All right. Now she has worked in media. She has worked as an IT officer, and that's quite a lot of experience. And there's more, but due to time, I'm not going to get deeper into that. Now we have Miss Esther Ambrose. Could you wave again? I hope your hands don't get tired of waving. I'm going to ask you to wave a lot. Okay, so Miss Esther Ambrose is an entrepreneur and she's the CEO of Kana's Choice Enterprise. Esther is a graduate of Kenya Institute of Management with a diploma in business administration. She's a youth activist and her activism is centered around, gender equality, and she's also the information secretary at Culture Trend and Multicultural Organization, which seeks to empower and inspire South Sudanese communities to understand the value and importance of peace through culture and tradition. Wow, that is amazing. A really interesting angle there. I like it. And Miss Estella Malik, you gotta wave again. Estella. All right. So Estella is an entrepreneur with a focus of empowering South Sudanese women while changing the narrative of African products and services. In 2018, she decided to leave her job in the communications sector to become an entrepreneur. Now, following that year, she launched Aramware Organic Skincare that processes handcrafted shea butter. And so, yeah, right now she owns Aramware and it manufactures handcrafted South Sudanese shea butter. And they're supplying to South Sudan and neighboring countries at a low scale. And as part of our women empowerment strategy, she now employs 38 women in South Sudan. Now, remember, I mentioned that earlier. Some of the characteristic of women entrepreneurship entities is that they need to employ people. And so she has 38 employees. That's amazing. And so, yeah, we'll get to know more about her as she shares her experience. Miss Mary Fauzia, come on, wave at me. Mary, hi. So Mary is from a business family. For her, business runs in the family. It is genetic. It's probably written on her DNA, and that's why she developed a passion for business as a child. And right now, she is in she first settled in she was born in Ezo County and then later moved to Uganda, then Australia, and now she's been running her business. She moved back home a few years after she started another business in Kampala and Juba, but now she's back in Australia. And so, yeah, she will tell us more about her business later on. And then finally, we have Zuhal Kamis, smiling and waving. Zuhal was born in Port Sudan. She immigrated to Canada in 2005. She's a hairstylist. Ooh, you're too far. I would have come to you to do my hair. And she is also a wig maker. Wow, that's amazing. And so that makes her a creator. So she makes something out of, other products and puts it together and makes it something. And she's also the owner of Zulhagam. I hope I got that right. Zuha Glam. And she moved to Toronto, Canada to pursue her career in hairstyling. She focuses on providing top quality locks extensions and client services. Wow. Now, you have a brief intro on all these wonderful women, but you're going to learn more as they speak. It's one thing to talk about someone, but then it's another thing for them to talk by themselves. And so right now, we're going to dive into the program and just go into the questions and get to know more about who these young women are and how they got to where they are right now, how they're handling challenges, but also how do they think the entrepreneurship environment for women in South Sudan can improve. And so my first question will go to Eva Yai. Now, Eva Yai does not really own a business, but she is actually the head and co-founder of an organization. So Eva, could you kindly tell us about your organization? What is your vision and what was your motivation to start this particular organization of all the fields you could have focused on?
Yes, thank you very much, Lucy, and thank you, South Sudan Women Intellectuals, for this forum. Go Girls ICT initiative, as you can hear, ICT, information, communication, and technology. We focus on women and girls, especially empowering them on how to use technology in businesses, technology in communications, in storytelling, and more. So, what inspired us to come up with this organization is that there were few women in the fields of technology and engineering, and we wanted to inspire more and more women and girls to join this field. But also, we deal in trainings, and these trainings focus on entrepreneurship, especially design thinking, and how you can think of how to create a product or a service and how to sell this product or service, and how you can be unique out there in the market, because it's a big market out there, a lot of competition, and as a woman it's very difficult to compete, especially a South Sudanese woman. So you need to have something unique about yourself to be able to sell. So our vision at Go Girls ICT is mostly to use technology in empowering and creating value proposition. And we have this philosophy of to engage, and then after engaging these women and girls into using technology as a tool in whichever field they're in, we then educate them on how to do this. And then when they get educated, then they're empowered. So it's to engage, educate, and empower. Thank you very much.
Wow. To engage, educate, and empower. So, how many girls have you worked with so far, if you just don't mind answering that?
Yes, we've worked with a lot of girls so far. I don't have the actual number on my fingertips, but about over 150 girls. And we have mentors in our organization who are not really fully employed with the Go Girls, but they keep on running and working with us from time to time as volunteers. But of course, it's paid kind of volunteering. And the other girls who are not yet at that age of working with us are somehow empowered and kept in school through a program that we have that's about the scholarship. We call it the Go Girls Scholarship, where we keep the South Sudanese girl in school so that they are able to pursue and have a career, or at least have papers to be able to get into the fields and be able to be independent.
Wow.
Yeah.
You are actually using technology to make sure that, girls are well informed and they're using the right tools to expand their knowledge, but also to be able to gain skills to survive. But also, you're
Yes.
giving scholarships. That is so amazing. I'm going to get back to you, especially on the scholarship part. Now, just
Okay.
it's amazing. We're going to ask this question about motivation to everyone. So let me just let it go around, and then we sort of narrow it down to how this has really worked. So for Zia, what has been your motivation, and how did you start this business? What was your motivation, and then how did you start it? Was it easy? Was it hard? What child like just tell us that your start experience. Mary Fauzia. Okay, you're on now. Yes. Can you hear
Hello?
me? Yes. So yes, Mary, tell
No.
me, what was your motivation? I can hear you.
Ah, hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right. Go ahead. Tell me, what was your motivation to start your business? What do you sell, and what motivated you to start your business?
I can't hear you. Can I go off and on?
Okay, we'll move on to someone else as you log out and log back in. Let's move
No.
on. Okay,
You
can
know
you hear
when
me
you
now?
just asking me a question, then someone
Oh dear, she went off. All right, Estella, you go next. What was your motivation, and how did you start? Was it easy? Was it hard?
Well, so can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes. So Aramware is an organic skincare startup, and my motivation for this was I had a need, and the need is that I was using shea butter, which I've used now for over 8 years. I was using shea butter that I used to get from Uganda because I was doing my bachelor's abroad. And so I would buy and take with me until it's done, and then I have to restock. And so when I came back, because of that need, having to constantly send for it from Uganda, I decided to explore to find out whether we had it. And to my, I mean, it was not a surprise because we did have it. It's just that the way that they prepared it previously differed from what I was using. So what I was using was clear and doesn't have a very, it had a pleasant smell. But the one that they used here was over roasted and was dark in color. And so when I
Okay.
discovered that, I decided to start making it myself. So at that point, it was just because I had a need as a person, and I started making it for myself and giving it to my friends as gifts and family. And then when the demand picked up, is when we decided to commercialize it. So when we commercialize it is when the aspect of women empowerment came in, because now I wanted to use a skill that we already had to empower the women. Currently, I use the wives of soldiers who are illiterate, and but they're good in the kitchen. So you know, if you're from South Sudan, you know that most wives, I think your main purpose is to be in the kitchen, and not so many of them are privileged with an education. And so at that point, I started using one woman to produce it. And as the demand grew, we added more. So now I have about 8 women who do the production from scratch. So we just bring the nuts from the lake states, and then we do the process from here. Currently, we have about 5 products. We do have the shea butter, which is the main product here, and we have lip balms, we have face oils, and we have hair oils, all made from
Mhm.
here. What we
Oh,
just do
wow.
is to bring in packaging from the East Africa.
You said 5 products. What are the other two? I just heard lip balm, face oils, and hair oils. What are the other two?
Yeah, lip balm, face oils, and hair oils. It's just that we do have different flavors. For lip balm, we have 2 flavors in strawberry and mint. And shea butter, we have 2 flavors. Then we do have cocoa mixed with shea butter. And then we have karkar oil, which is for hair, and different face oils such as jojoba, grapeseed oil, and vitamin E.
Okay, wow, that's amazing. So your motivation came from a need and difficulty to access a program, a product
Yeah,
that that you liked, and
yeah,
when you couldn't access it, you decided to start making it yourself, getting it here yourself. But also,
yeah,
you noticed the quality was not good, and so you wanted to better the quality. That is a very very inspiring kind of thing to do. I mean, every day we sort of find things that we find use and comfortable to use, and we know how to make them better. But most times we just brush it off and look for another option. But what you did was
yeah.
amazing. So I'll get
Thank
back to
you.
you later. I'll definitely get back to you later. Now, that's yes, we can have Mary. You're back. I see you're back. Can you hear me, Fozia? Yes.
Yeah,
So Fozia, earlier you couldn't hear me. I hope you can hear me now.
yeah. Actually, I wasn't ready for this because our time differences. I was supposed to be on the show according to Australian time, 5 o'clock, 5 p.m. And then we are just celebrating Mother's Day now.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So I got women in the house, and I have to take my time to come and attend with you as a woman. It's
Yes.
which is very good. Yes. I'm so happy to have you all around here. And a happy Mother's Day, please, to all mothers and mothers to be calm. Don't give up.
Wow.
And you need to have that.
Thank
Happy
you.
Mother's Day, please.
So let's do
Yes.
this. For the mothers, happy Mother's Day. You can respond and just wave or nod or something. I am a That's a mother, okay? Mothers can wave. I'm not going to wave because I'm an aspiring mom. Thank you so much, Mary. Thank you, Fozia. So we'll let you stay for a while. Maybe we'll come to you last. Zuhal, you could share with us.
No, I'm going actually because I have to go.
Okay, then you share
Uh,
with us what motivated you for your business and what exactly you do. And yeah, please go ahead now.
yeah. Sorry for being. Actually, you have to know that my time was supposed to be 5 p.m.
Okay.
and
Okay.
then I just came. I have to because as women we have to always stand there for ourselves and empower us as women. So um, business, as you said it earlier, I got nothing to say about it. What I can say is I was born in a business background. I was born in a business background, and then that was what motivated me because I grew up in a business background. So business is not too bad. That's what I can tell you today as women. I'm not saying I'm not segregating men, but I can tell you as women because when you're a business minded person, that means you have a confidence in yourself that nobody can let you down. You will always, not even a job, even if you are educated or you're not educated. I'm not
Mhm.
supporting non-educated people like you have to drop down from school. No,
Yeah.
what I'm saying is when you fail, when you see yourself, you realize yourself that you can't go further, you can't do nothing, but don't give up on yourself, on something to do like it to help yourself. That's what I mean here.
Yeah.
So um if you try like if, for example, there are some people there that go to school, they study, they do this, they try their best. I can see like somebody, some people can repeat same class for 5 years without passing,
Yeah.
okay, without going further. So if you see that, do something on the side, do something on the side that can help you, okay,
Yes.
do something that can help you. um that can, like, you don't need to let yourself down completely. You have to be a dependent, like you have to be dependent as a woman. You have to help yourself. In case you got married to a man who cannot even be able to buy something or salt or something, don't rely on a man, okay? So
Okay. Okay.
always be there. At least you can be able to buy salt for yourself and do something. That's what motivated me from my parents to buy salt, to be able to be independent. In case I fail, even if I have a degree, I have masters, I have everything. But if you're a business minded person, you will always have something in your hand because you have that skill that will motivate you to buy salt, to buy soap, to bring up your kids. Because your
Okay.
man is not going to be always there. Um, the person who will provide all for you.
Okay.
That's
So Mary,
why I
Mary.
said no. I have to copy something from my parents
Yes.
and become independent. As a dependent woman and a confidence woman, you don't get, when you're a business person.
Mary, let me just cut you short. Oh, she disappeared. Sorry about that. I was going to ask her to just give us more details about her business and, yeah, the direct inspiration for going to that particular business. But when she comes back, hopefully, we'll be able to ask that. Let's move on to Esther. Esther, So the first question is, what motivated you to get into business? Then you can tell us what kind of business you decided to embrace in that moment. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much, Lucy. What really motivated me, it's yeah, I saw there's a need in the kind of business that I ventured in, and the business is called Kana's Choice Enterprise. Actually, Kana's Choice, it's all about we sell peanut butter. Yeah,
Wow, I love
and
it.
as you all know, yeah, peanut butter, it's a food paste which is made from dry roasted nuts. Yeah, so basically this is what. And yeah, actually there was a time, yeah, I went to the supermarket, and as you know, like currently I'm in Kenya. There was a day I went to the supermarket to get some peanut butter, and unfortunately the peanut butter that they are selling, really, I didn't like it, because as you know, as Junubin, we like peanut butter, and the peanut butter that we use at home for cooking, and also making porridge. Yeah, so I saw like the quality, or the peanut butter that they were selling was really not good for me. So that's why I decided to start the business, and I saw like it was a need, and most people who are living here really wanted to get such kind of peanut butter, which is natural and nutrition. Yeah, and aside from that, also as in the biography you had said about, I'm also in the entertainment sector. It's an entertainment business called Culture Trend. Yeah, and
Okay.
yeah, and in Culture Trend, it's a performing art group. Yeah, where we do a lot of just cultural stuffs, dancing. Yeah, so the motivation towards this culture trend in the entertainment sector, it's all about the love of African culture, in particular South Sudan culture. And as you know, we are all in living in this diaspora, and we just want to enlighten people and to remind them, of their culture. So this is what really motivated us to do this.
Wow. So with this culture trend, let me just ask one more question before we move on to the next question. With this culture
Okay.
trend, how does it work? How does it work as a business for you? Because yeah, it's entertainment. How do you earn? And where exactly can you be found? How
Mm.
does it work?
Okay, actually, since currently we are in Kenya, we're in Nairobi, but we have also other groups back there in South Sudan. Yeah, so basically what we do, the people, we go for shows, like, we have cultural events in universities, or weddings, or birthdays, like, or any kind of occasion. So there are people who hire us, we go, we dance, we do the cultural dances. Yeah, and then yeah, we get paid. That's basically how it works.
Okay, thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you for that. It's very
No.
creative. And yeah, it's quite something that is not very common. And I like that you're, putting our culture out there so more people can know about it. All right. So now, yeah, we're going deeper into the discussion now. And so the next question I would really like to ask, and this goes to all of you, is how was the business before the pandemic? And then how was it after the pandemic? Now, I would like to request that if you are going to repeat something that somebody has already said, maybe you just add your context and try not to be over repetitive, or try to share other points, or you can just point out that, oh, as Eva said this, that also happened to me, but I also experienced this other thing, just to save time. So we'll start with Estella Malik. How was your business before the pandemic? And then what changed?
So my business is going to be 2 years now. I think we actually launched in October, just a couple of months before the pandemic, about 5 months before the pandemic. And since it was at its starting stage, we cannot say that the pandemic affected my business so much. I think it actually picked up during the pandemic because this is when we got involved with the MTN support for small businesses. And they used their platform to advertise our business. And we actually got a very good clientele from that support. So it started picking up at that time. And the only challenge that I would say started to happen during the pandemic was the inability to access the packages which used to come from Nairobi. Because of the lockdowns, it was almost impossible to get them in on time. And maybe the slow purchase from people because some people were not working. So it seemed outrageous when you're charging them 3,500 at that time when they have no income coming in. But other than that, I think for me, my business picked up much during the pandemic.
Oh, so as some people were complaining, you were saying, "Yay, I'm getting money."
I would say it's a
Okay.
blessing in disguise.
Okay, I noticed I didn't ask Zuhal about her motivation and what business she got into after getting motivated. So, Zuhal, you're going to answer two questions at the same time, okay? So you'll start with the first one. What motivated you to start business and get into entrepreneurship? And then the second question would be, so what did you get into? What where did you focus on? And then now you can explain how the pandemic affected you.
Thank you guys for inviting me to be a part of this discussion panel. What motivated me was actually as you know, I'm a single mother, and my children mean a lot to me. So my kids, my mom, my family back home really motivated me to start my own business. I've seen my mom work super hard. I've been through a lot of tough times to secure a future for me and my brother and sister. So I am where I am today because of her. She is the reason behind everything. Like Zohar Glam wouldn't exist if it wasn't for my mother. She brought me out here to a land of opportunity to build something for myself, and I decided Zohar Glam was it. She's been a businesswoman. My father was a businesswoman. They have a bit of a business background, and I basically picked up on that. I knew business was going to be um, my calling. For hairstyling, hairstyling has always been my thing. Like I've been very talented. It's God's given talent, uh, and basically that's what I wanted. Like I knew right away from school, like from the jump, I was going to be a hairstylist. I started doing hair since I was 8 years old. So when I moved to Toronto, I'm like, okay, what should I do in my community? Like, what can I do to stand out apart from any other Sudanese hairstylist? And focusing on making wigs, handcrafted wigs, and coming up with my own product line was that thing that I actually had to focus on. So I took classes, I went to school for hair, and I mastered at it. Mm. So yeah, I quit my
Wow.
job. I didn't want to work for anybody anymore. I didn't want to sell my time to my boss and build other people's businesses. And I just thought to myself, I can use the same effort to build my own company. And it's going great.
Wow. If I told my dad I wanted to be a hairstylist right back before when I joined school and I was supposed to join university, I think he would have disowned me or something.
Yeah, they were not happy. They said styling was for stupid people. That was the thing.
So how did you handle that? I mean
I
there were
told,
parents.
I told them it's
So
my passion. They couldn't get
uh-huh.
against it. I'm big on supporting my children on whatever they want to do. If it's not harmful, I am just that person that's always encouraging my kids to do what they're comfortable with. And I told them this is my future. It is for me. I have to do what I'm comfortable in. I don't want to pick up an office job that I'm gonna have to feel weird about every day and not feel as motivated to get up every morning to go clock in. This was my thing. I don't mind doing it. I can be up at 5 a.m. in the morning, 2 a.m. in the morning working on it without being forced to do it. It's a passion. They gave up on me.
Wow. So did it are they okay with it now? How long did it take your parents to accept
Uh,
it?
my mom still talks about it. She says I wanted you to be a lawyer and stuff, right? So to me, I'm like, well, I'm happy with it. If this is what's gonna bring me financial freedom, financial breakthrough, then okay, it's going to be that. And now
Wow.
she's not okay, but she's okay. Like it's not a big deal anymore, you know, because
Okay.
she's still
Thanks.
him.
Wow. Thank you for that. Wonderful. It's quite an inspirational one. So, why talk to me about the pandemic? Tell us more about how your business was before the pandemic and what changed after the pandemic.
Honestly, my business is
During
fairly
and present. Yeah.
yeah, it's fairly new, Before the pandemic, I didn't really have as much motivation. I had a job, and obviously, I didn't have a capital. So what I did was I picked up a night shift at a different company to work just to help start up my business, and that was making me super tired and less motivated. I wasn't really 100% focused on Zohal Glam. So recently, I registered my business. It's legal now, and honestly, I can say the pandemic was a blessing and a curse in my case, because before that I was foot in, foot out type of thing. It wasn't really like there wasn't any commitments. I was just doing it like it's for fun. So I saved up my money. I without getting any funding, obviously, without getting anything. Pandemic being a hairstylist is really hard, right? Like we're not in Canada. We're on lockdown. We've been on lockdown. Salons have been closed for over a year now, and we're not really doing much. So there's not much client coming in. So what I did was, okay, I'm gonna start making wigs and ship them out of the country or just to other provinces without having clients sitting on my chair. Um, so really, I can say the pandemic helped me grow my business from the social media aspect of it. Like I used social media as my marketing tool. When people were at home, not doing much during the lockdown, I started going live. I started posting more to
Mm-hmm.
gain more traffic to my business, basically. And that's really what the pandemic did for me. I just took advantage of everyone. I was just going through their social media handles, and people started to see me more. I was gaining more exposure, and I just went from there. But it really
Wow.
hasn't affected me as much. Yeah.
Okay. It hasn't affected you negatively as much.
No, it was actually in a good way.
Okay. That's a good thing. Is it the same for you, Eva? The pandemic, did it affect you badly, or was business booming all the way?
Yeah, the pandemic actually affected us so much because most of our activities and the trainings we're having were more physical. We were moving to schools and homes, so we had to change our strategy. But also, it has been a blessing in disguise, like you said earlier, because we, as an organization, had to learn new strategies of how to survive in a pandemic. And that's a very important thing for a business to be able to be flexible and be able to change according to the tides. And this helped
Yeah.
us a lot. And actually, our ICT made more sense because everybody was using technology as a marketing
Hmm.
tool, as a tool for businesses, for meetings and organizations, and a lot of businesses were doing that. And we realized actually, yeah, we were becoming more and more relevant to that. The only challenge was most of the funding that we were getting was now being cut off a bit and diverted to other activities in where it was needed the most. So that kind of slowed down some of the plans that we had as an organization. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Um, so before the pandemic, there were a few challenges, right? And then after the pandemic, there became more. But did you manage to overcome them and get to a place where you're handling it? I mean, you're an ICT, organization. So I would expect that now that technology is a real thing. So yeah, you must have taken advantage of that really well.
Yes, we did so much. We had to, like I said, we had to go back to the drawing board and strategize and see how to continue giving the trainings without having a lot of in-person trainings and meetings. So the challenges were there because some projects were cut off. That meant that some of the beneficiaries were not going to benefit from some of the trainings. But also we found new ways to reach out to these beneficiaries. We did a lot of research and we got to discover a lot of opportunities. And since then, things are beginning to change because we were able to divert and come up with more ideas on what exactly to do to be able to educate and empower more young independent South Sudanese and how they could prepare best for such situations in the future. And now we are doing a lot
Yeah.
of trainings in relation to this. And actually, I could say we have just concluded a training on audio podcasting, and we've been able to train some young women, about 20 young women who are mostly school dropouts and also those who have not been able to continue to the university. They have learned how to produce and to edit audio, but we didn't just stop there. We taught them how to do business modeling and, of course, design thinking, how they could market their content online because there are a lot of opportunities for podcasters and content developers out there. So this has helped us because this is a new area that we've not been doing a lot of times, media. We've not done it so much directly, but so this has been a learning process for us.
Okay. Wow. Thank you for that. It's amazing how like for you, all of you actually, you're all young women, and it seems like in every of your initiatives and businesses, you're empowering other young women, which is a really great thing to do as women, because then we're able to lift each other up, which is really amazing. So, if you've just joined us, we are talking about entrepreneurship right here on this wonderful platform, women's platform, South Sudanese Women's Intellectual Forum. So, you're probably tuned in on Facebook, and so you're very welcome. And we've briefly been talking about what businesses our guests here own and how they're handling it, what motivated them, and how they're handling the pandemic, especially when it hit. And we've heard from Eva, who just said that they were not able to train much, and a lot of programming was affected, but they had to adapt and adjust. Estella, the same. But for Estella's case, she was smiling as COVID was happening. And and when it comes to Zohal, well, it's around COVID period where she actually took her business idea to the next level, and she seems to be going okay and progressing with it, which is a good thing. She has managed to adapt to the situation and grow her business, and get online and share her share what she does, and she's getting publicity. And now we're going to hear from Esther Ambrose. Eva, I'll be coming back to you with a different question still on the pandemic, but let's first hear from Esther. Esther, how did the pandemic hit you? When it hit you, how did it feel like? Because I'm pretty sure before it, there was a bit of a difference. So just share that experience with us.
Okay. With Kana's choice, actually, the business before pandemic was really not good. And just as Suhel and Estella said, for me, even it has really peaked during the pandemic. So Kana's choice has really done well during this period because it was more of advertising or marketing through the social media. So with that, I really got more sales during the pandemic. Yeah, unlike
Wow.
the one for yeah, unlike for culture trend before the pandemic, the business was really good because, as you know, in the entertainment sector, it's more of a physical interaction, you know, and by then we had so many activities. We had weddings and culture events, and yeah, birthdays. Like there were so many activities before the pandemic. Yeah, so after the pandemic, that's when things really it hit us negatively because there was no that physical interaction, and due to the COVID protocols and all that, so many activities were put on hold. Yeah, so it affected us because we didn't have a lot, or we didn't have much to do. Yeah, so basically what we did was just we will do our dances. We could record using a phone, and then we just post it in our page so that people can view it. Yeah, but there was no income that we got during this pandemic, so it really affected us. Yeah.
Okay, so for you, it's like the balance, the scale balance changed. So, the culture trend went down and then the Kana's choice went up. And I see that you took advantage of social media, which is falls under technology, to
Mm.
advertise more. Now, before the pandemic, were you advertising in any way?
Okay,
Still on.
actually, before the pandemic, um, okay, I was working. I was currently working before the pandemic. Yeah, so I'm one of the people actually who lost their jobs because of the COVID. Yeah, so when I was not working, that's when I decided to, come up with a business. But now the business was there. It's not that. It's just that I didn't have time because due to my schedule, I was working from Monday to Saturday, and Sunday was a resting day, so I didn't have much to do. Yeah. So since I wasn't working, then that's when I decided like let me just continue with what I was doing. Yeah.
Wow. So you lost your job. Would,
Yeah.
on a scale of 1 to 10, was it better when you had the job, or it's better when you have the business?
Um. Actually, it's better when I have the business.
Hmm.
Yeah, because with the business, I was earning, like I was getting more than what I was paid, like my salary where I was working. Yeah, so
Okay.
it was better.
Wow. I'm going to ask all of you this question, so get ready for it. So let's just go back to Eva a bit. I want to ask you, um, with the businesses, with Esther, Zohal, Estella, and yeah, and before I go to Eva, let me just let you all know that we won't be having Mary. She's not coming back because of technical issues, but she did share her a bit of her experience, and we are glad to have had her for those few moments that she was with us. Okay, so Eva, we know that there's a big difference between an organization and a business. A business, you have to get capital, and then you make profits. And out of the profits, you get to inject back more money into the business, and then it keeps growing and growing. And the more it grows, the more profit you get. Now, when it comes to organizations, I believe you need to sort of get funding to manage and handle your projects and programs. So before and during the pandemic, how was the trend as far as receiving funding and getting partners to work with you, donor partners, and did it change after the pandemic? I mean, we're just trying to find out uh, what how the journey was around that time.
Yes, before the pandemic, we actually had a lot of plans and a lot of projects that we were planning to implement. And actually, there are some projects we were almost signing, like the contracts with the funders. And then the pandemic came in, and the whole funding was stopped. And they had to divert all this funding to different activities related to COVID. uh, all the activities that were not so much related to COVID and were not considered relevant at that moment were stopped, and yet plans were already made. And also, there are a lot of delays like for example, we have some uh, fundings that have not yet come in because they are still trying to see the strategies, trying to see how best these projects can be implemented in the pandemic, because a lot of policies, a lot of things are coming up, and so it's very complicated. And yeah, this has reduced the funding very, very much.
So now that funding has reduced, what are some of the methods you're applying to make sure that programming does not die out, even if there is no funding?
So we have these activities that we were doing even before the pandemic, or even without funding or with limited funding. So we try to do a lot of activities under zero budgeting, but also the team at Go Girls. They're a team of professionals who have other consultancy jobs that they do. So in terms of sustainability, we don't usually just depend on funding from donors, but we also bring in what we can in terms of the skills that we provide as Go Girls team. Most of the team members at Go Girls are experienced trainers, so they volunteer their time as trainers to provide. And also, we have these partnerships with some service providers who are able to give us free internet sometimes. And since most of the activities are online, and phone calls, we are able to make phone calls to our beneficiaries and also do trainings online. And also, we have applied a very unique strategy of other countries have gone online. Most schools have closed, but students have continued having online classes. So for us in at Go Girls, we've been doing research using podcasts actually, and we've been using feature phones, the button phones, and memory cards, and these are not really expensive things. And we've been creating content and going out in the communities and disseminating this study content to the students. So we've been collaborating with teachers, and also we've used this time to gain more skills as Go Girls. And also that we are doing a lot of research right now. Like we are working on research on since last year we were doing a research on how to produce a locally made hand sanitizer using local materials from South Sudan without importing anything. So we've been doing a lot of testing and sending this sanitizer out in the communities and testing it out. And right now, actually, we are going into the second phase. And we've been doing this almost, okay, we had a bit of funding, but at one point when the funding ended, we were doing this still in kind as Google's team in collaboration with the teachers.
Wow. Thank you, Eva. That is quite a broad thing. You're trying to thrive in the midst of chaos, which is very bold, and that's something I think many young people should learn to do, especially when things like COVID come up. If you notice, um, Esther lost her job and she delved into business. It was a big risk to take, and that is one of the qualities of a good entrepreneur. And when we look at Estella, she also took advantage of the pandemic to make sure that the business still thrives. And so that is really, really amazing. Same with Zuhal. So we do have some questions that I'll be asking that's coming in from the audience. And before I head to those questions, I would like to just pose a general question once again to all of you, and I'll pick you one by one, starting with Estella. What are the general challenges facing your business? You can talk about challenges that you currently experience, but also those that you have experienced, and maybe they helped your business grow, or they sort of affected your business in one way or another. And how did you overcome them? So, Estella.
Yeah, so some of the challenges are like some of those that I had mentioned before. For me, one of them is the fact that I have to get packaging from East Africa, from like Kenya. And so when there's a lockdown, that becomes almost impossible for me or becomes slower than the usual times. And then locally, I think last year one of the biggest challenges was the flood. The flood that happened last year was like never before. I mean, like I've never experienced before in South Sudan. So that made it very slow for me to be able to bring the nuts from Lake States to Juba. And when I did, it was almost 3 or 4 times the price that I used to transport them during the dry seasons. Um, the other thing would be the what has been uniform amongst us here so far. We have had a uniform message of the financial challenges because of either lack of funding or the fact that you run out of the individual income that you're using to finance the business. So for me, that was also a challenge because I'm financing the business individually, and so when I do not have money, then the business is slow as well, but it is slowly picking up because it's a business that can sort of take care of itself once the market is available. The other one would be the support systems, which is one of the major challenges. And by support systems, I mean generally government institutions or all relevant institutions. In the case of EVA, I'm not sure if EVA had to do testing of the hand wash that they manufactured. But in my case, I have had clients lined up who are interested in buying the share abroad. And for me to do that, I needed to go through the South Sudan Bureau of Standards to test and then give me a certificate of analysis that I am able to give to something like DHL. And that takes forever. When that happens, when we're waiting this long, we're losing clients and business that we have already sort of earned. So for me, that is one of the major challenges, and that I feel like would need a lot of work, both on government and relevant institutions, where they need to find better ways to support small businesses. I mean, pat us on the shoulder so that it encourages the next person to be able to start. So
Okay.
that's pretty much it from me.
So, just to get more details on this bit where you had to register to be able to export your product, have
Yeah,
you succeeded
yeah.
or is it still in process?
Well, it just succeeded. We've actually finally acquired it after about a couple of months of chasing it. We now got it, I think, about 3 or 4 days ago. So that's a plus for us, and we should be able to
Congratulations.
start exporting in another 3 weeks.
Wow, congratulations. So, on average, how long did it take you?
It took me about 2 months. And this is 2 months of chasing the process. That is, they want this letter, so you go do this letter and come back with it, and then it just takes time. And a month after they collected the sample, which ordinarily should take about 2 days. If you submit a sample, if it's too long, it should take about 2 days because this is something that they said was in process before, that somebody had tested before. So I didn't understand why it took that long. But
Okay.
all in all, we were able to acquire it. So we thank
Were
God.
there any specific experiences that probably really bothered you that you probably would love to share with this process?
In
What
in
experiences you
regards
could
to
share?
the certificate itself, or
Yes, the process. Yeah.
well, I mean, if you came, I mean, if I go to a government institution and say that I have started up a business, when my business thrives, it helps the economy grow as well as creating employment for people.
Yes.
And as South Sudan is a young nation, we survive on almost everything from we survive on exports. So when somebody locally comes up with a business, we should be getting a pat on the shoulder. And it should be
Exactly.
swift like this to get whatever document we want to encourage us. And so when something like a document takes about something like a letter that could take you maybe 15 minutes, drafting of that letter, if it takes that long, then it's so discouraging. So that discouraged me because I'm having to explain to these clients that are not in South Sudan that I am waiting for a simple document to come through that is not coming through. it just makes it seem like you're unserious, or either you did not submit it and you're just making excuses. So yeah,
Mm,
that to me that was probably one of the biggest ones. And maybe another one that I could say is the banking systems here,
yes.
where the good banks that you could bank with, that you can be able to receive transfers from abroad and locally, have problems or some policies in place where they do not open for individuals or small businesses, and
Mm-hmm.
they need to be able to open for big corporations. So how do we grow to get to the level of big corporations if we do not start somewhere? So I think it's the
Yeah.
banking systems and the general support systems of all the relevant institutions for me.
Wow. Is anyone agreeing with this and probably has a similar experience? Let's just share. You could just notify me. Does any of you have an experience on this? Anyone? Have you tried to register to do something, or even when you were registering your business, did it take so long? Anyone sharing? Okay, Eva, go ahead.
Yes, Lucy. Yeah, I also, we went through the same thing. Actually, we are still going through that with the sanitizer. We took it for
Mm-hmm.
testing at the National Bureau of Standards. At one point, there was no one in the office to do it, and then we took a sample, and then the sample was not enough. And then the next time they said, okay, you bring another sample. And after we had tested it with our experts and we took it to them, they were telling us a very, very low percentage of what we really had tested. It was different. And the numbers were not convincing. At one point, they told us 9%. And then after some days, they're like, oh, we made a mistake. It was supposed to be 60%. But now, when we went back to check, they had actually not touched the sample. So sometimes
Wow.
I think I don't know, but I feel like sometimes they are not doing what they're expected to do. Like the
Mm-hmm.
sample was just there and they were giving us false results. And on keep in mind, you're supposed to keep on paying every time you take a sample there. To pick results, you're supposed to pay 10,000, which is about how many dollars are those in the black market by then? That's about
Wow.
maybe $20 for every sample you take there. So if they tell you, okay, your sample is very, um, the percentage is low and this is what we require, that means you have to go back
They
and
actually,
produce
yeah.
another sample, go back to the drawing board and test it in your laboratory and then take it back to them. And this is all resources. And remember, it's the pandemic, you don't have enough funding and you have to do all this. So it gets complicated for startups and also young businesses that are trying to thrive. And like Estella said, it's very important if there could be some policies that are favorable for startups and businesses to be able to come up in South Sudan so that more women can be encouraged to be able to join. But most people are scared of the prices.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's true. Wow, it's interesting that you've shared this, and both of you have had this experience. Now, how long would you say it took you before the sanitizer was approved?
So we are still actually working with them. They have not approved it for the market yet. So we are
Yeah.
now going into the second phase of the experimentation and the research to see what's wrong. From our side, the results show that they are conclusive, but from their side, they say the results are not okay. So we don't know whether we are doing it wrong or we are trying to figure it
But
out. So it's
would you
challenging.
say you have gone through the whole right process to make this sanitizer?
Yes,
Wow.
yes. At first, it was the packaging and the branding, the labeling. So we worked on all that because we've been having feedback with them, with the National Bureau of Standards. So we worked on our branding. There is a certain way they wanted us to do all that. They gave us the guidelines, and we did that. But now they have the issue with the contents, the percentage of the alcohol, which is supposed to be 60% to be able to produce a good sanitizer. But now they're telling us the percentage is a bit low. So we are trying to figure out what went wrong, but also looking for a second opinion from other laboratories to see if actually the tests were done correctly.
So how long has it been exactly since you
Um,
started this process?
we started the process since last year around November, the testing.
Wow, wow,
Yes, and
that's
but
close to
yeah,
that's
but
close to
hopefully
5 months.
by, yes, by the end of this month we shall be done. So we took another sample for testing, and we are waiting for the results.
Wow, and to think that in all these months you're spending, you're you're moving, you're focusing on this and not focusing on other products that could have been probably out in the market already or projects, and it's really a great effect. And I don't know, it's crazy. Let me talk to Zohal, who is not in South Sudan. Now, tell me your experience out there. How long does it take to like register a product or a service or a business? And is it as frustrating as Eva and Estella just shared?
It can be, honestly. It's really not easy. I was just gonna add to it. I'm actually developing a product right now, but my chemist is all the way in the Philippines, and it's been over a year just doing the back and forth,
Whoa.
the testing and everything. If you're gonna put a product like that out there in the market, it's gonna take some time. It's not like selling a rug or like creating a candle. Anything that has to do with alcohol and chemicals usually takes quite some time. It doesn't just happen right away. And as an entrepreneur, you have to be very patient and just know that the longer it is, the better. The longer it takes, the better results you're going to get out of it. It'll take time, but it will pay off in the long run.
All right. Thank you. That's encouraging for you, Eva. Estelle already got hers, so
It's
congrats,
going to be worth
Estelle.
it.
Yeah. Esther, how was it in Nairobi getting registered and yeah, getting your product into the market? Did it take as long? Was it frustrating?
Okay, actually, mine is just the same case as Eva said and Suhel. Mine, I'm still actually in the process. Yeah, and I have tried. I have tried with this the Kenya Bureau of Standards, the one here in Nairobi, and it's taking long, really. And as Eva said, like every time you go there, you need to pay, and if you don't have that money so that you can pay for them to test the product, then they cannot verify or they can't register your business. So at the moment, I haven't registered actually the business, yeah, because it's the same challenge that I'm going through. Yeah, but hopefully, I just hope like very soon we will settle all this.
I think with time it will get easier, and especially for women. Let me ask this question. Do you feel at any point during these processes, there was probably a bias because you were a woman? Yeah, you can go, Esther.
Sorry, do I feel?
Do you feel like at any point in that process, it is because you're a woman that you're facing difficulties and it's taking so long?
Yeah, at some point actually, I do feel, and sometimes also like I feel like yeah, since we're in a foreign country, being a foreigner, they don't consider that. So sometimes they feel like they consider their own. If a Kenyan or somebody from their own country comes and wants to register this, they can get it so easily. So, but for me, I feel like being a woman and a foreigner in particular, uh, it has really affected.
Could you give a detail, maybe a specific experience where you actually felt this person is doing this or saying this because of a woman?
A specific,
A specific experience.
at the moment, there's no a specific experience, but I would say that during that time that I was in the process of registering the business, I went there and the kind of feedback that they give me, and I just felt like it wasn't right, and so I just felt like it was because I'm a woman. That's why uh, they're not giving me this chance, to register my business and test the product that I'm selling. Yeah. So
What
there's
was the
no
exact feedback you got? What was that feedback that felt so gendered?
the exact.
The feedback. What was it that made you feel that
Okay.
way?
Actually, the feedback that they gave me, they just told me like, I don't qualify, and my product is still not that, it has not reached that level of being in the market, or being in that level of to reach in the international market. So that's the feedback that they gave me. Like, my product was not that good.
Okay, thanks, Esther. And to think that, given Esther's products, I mean, we look at she handles peanut butter, and I think if anyone owns a peanut butter, it should be an African woman, a peanut butter business. It should be an African woman because we truly know our way around this particular product. So, Estella, what was your experience with the fact that you're a woman and maybe your life was made a bit difficult while you were trying to get, to move forward with your business or get your product registered?
No, I actually haven't experienced the gender factor. I don't think any of that happened because I was a woman. I think it just happened
Mhm.
because generally, I think the setups are not in place to be able to facilitate the fast testing of these products. I don't think it had anything to do with my gender.
Okay, then I suppose that's the process we need to go through as entrepreneurs, just like Zuhal said earlier, to make sure that our product is of the right quality and of the right standard for that country so that it is approved. Thank you all so much for sharing on that. Now we're going to look at some of the questions. If you've just joined us, you can keep sending in your questions on Facebook, and I would like to direct some of these questions. We have some specific questions to specific people, but then we also have some general questions that we will be just adding, sharing on. So there's this one question. What are some of the factors that prevent women in South Sudan from going into entrepreneurship business? Uh, we're all going to answer that. So let me go straight to Zohal. What do you think are some of the factors? I know you already experienced one where your parents were not okay with your choice of business. So, what are some of the other factors that are preventing women, that you think are preventing women from delving into entrepreneurship business? Go ahead, Zuhal.
We're talking about South Sudan, right? Well, honestly, I feel like it's they're not allowing these women to have, like opportunities or even a chance to get into entrepreneurship right now in South Sudan, and they make it really hard for them to even want to do something. You know what I mean? Just with everything that's happening, like she was explaining about, like the testing, like the labs and I don't know. It's really hard. I can't really speak much on South Sudan, but I just know with everything that's going on and just them not having like the proper resources, it will make it really hard for someone to even want to start something, even as easy as just a hair business. You know, it's really hard, especially when you're importing and exporting, and like the shipping companies. I heard they charge quite a lot, right? Like, I wanted to start a hair business in South Sudan, but for me to take hair in South Sudan, it's gonna cost a lot of money. Like DHL does not really. I don't think they deliver to South Sudan. So I really put everything into consideration. Not even because I live there, just being out here in Canada, it is very hard for me to start a business in South Sudan because of everything that's going on. I feel like they're still behind a little bit, or they haven't been doing what they're supposed to be doing in terms of just helping others, grow in their business. So it's a
So
lot.
for
It's
you,
frustrating.
for you, it's the expense. It just looks too much
It's
to
just too
take.
much. It doesn't make sense because if I have to send one mail to Sudan and I'm gonna get charged $200 for it, how much is it gonna cost for me to send boxes? You know, like or just like a whole inventory? It's gonna cost a lot. You know, it just doesn't make sense to even do
Quick question: would it cost less to a different country out there? Does it cost any less to a different country out there?
to a different country that's not Sudan or South Sudan. Yes, it costs less.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for that. Estella, you are about to start exporting. And I think, in relation to that, do you think it's going to be as expensive to export out of South Sudan? Would it be a problem for you? Now we're
Yes,
talking
it's
about you taking your business out of South Sudan. Yeah.
yes, I absolutely think that it is way too expensive. To ship generally, I think globally is expensive. But then there's a different case with South Sudan because, for instance, my product is a jar of my product is about $8. If it's going to cost you about 55, actually 55 is very less. If it's going to cost you $92 to ship a product of $8, would you buy the product? Absolutely not. And I have had a comparison where, for some weird reason, it's more expensive to ship from South Sudan to elsewhere than it is to ship from other countries. Um, I don't know why that is, and that is with the same shipping companies. For instance, shipping from here to, let's say, some European country will cost you about $39 for a kg of my shea butter, but shipping it from Nairobi to Europe is way cheaper using the same logistics company. So there is
Wow.
something that needs to be reversed, that needs to be carefully studied and revised as to why the same companies are charging more expensively from South Sudan to several locations than they do in other neighboring countries.
Wow. That is something indeed to note down. And yeah. Uh, wow. That's interesting. That's actually a very huge margin. It's really huge.
Yes, that is huge margins.
And to think that it's the
Yes,
same businesses, it's the same courier companies. Yeah, that is really
yes.
now. Still for you, Estella. Earlier on, somebody actually asked about whether you plan to expand into other cosmetics with South Sudan, as you plan to expand in other countries other than shea butter. Where do you see your business in the future in terms of expansion? Now, you've already talked about exporting. So, are you going to go further than that? And how far do you plan to go in the future?
The whole goal and motivation behind this business is, like I said, it was the need. But the need is, you can see I'm very melanated, and I would like to maintain that. And so that means I have to use organic products, and it has to be a product that I know its origins. Because whatever you buy off the shelf, you cannot be conclusive that you know where all the ingredients came from or if all the ingredients are written on it. And so it is basically about turning to an organic lifestyle. So I'm looking to grow more in the organic sector. That means the edibles and whatever is cosmetics and whatever is edible, because now we are also looking to start packaging shea butter that is edible. So yes,
Okay.
we're just looking to basically grow into more organic cosmetics and edible uh,
Do you do
products.
you do you plan to adopt something other than shea butter? And if yes, which
Yes,
where what are you looking at?
yes, we have actually started planting lemongrass here, and we are yet to explore how we are able to extract the oils. And we're also looking at other organic products. But for now, we have planted just a small scale of lemongrass because we do have that here, and we're yet to see how we can utilize that.
Okay, and just one last question. In terms of expansion, do you plan to like have I don't know, a franchise or something? Or do you just
Yeah.
plan to have your base in South Sudan and you just export from South Sudan? Which is which?
Absolutely, just like any other business, the growth. I mean, if you would like to grow your business, that is something that you would have in mind. Previously, we have tried, and I think having franchises in different locations makes it easier in terms of the cost. It becomes more cost effective because if I have a franchise in Kenya, then the Kenyans can order from that franchise. If I have a franchise in the US, then it's able to cater for the US or areas around it. So that is something that we're looking to do. But in the meantime, we will be looking at getting distributors while we grow to that level, which will make our lives easier because, for instance, I could send to Zohal, who is in Canada, a bunch that she is able to distribute because from there it will be easier to ship to several clients than it is to ship individual, single jars from South Sudan to somewhere like Canada. So yeah, that's the plan so far.
Okay. For those tuned in on Facebook, kindly, please, you can send in your questions and your comments in the comments section. And definitely our panelists here will answer. We have Zuhal Khamis, who's a hairstylist. Ibayai owns an ICT for Girls organization. It's called Go Girls ICT. We have Estella Malek, who's the CEO of Aramware. And we also have Esther Ambrose from Kana. Uh, yeah, she does peanut butter, and she also has a culture trends, which deals with entertainment. And so, yes. Now, there's a question here that specifically applies to Esther. Esther, this question goes like this: how does one transition from employment to entrepreneurship, and what are the things to consider? You've had this experience, so was it hard for you? Please share with us.
Okay, personally, for me, it wasn't really hard because business has been in me since I was young. Yeah, I've been into business for a long time. Yeah, so for me, transitioning from the employment sector to the business, it hasn't really affected because I can't really say that I rely on the employment, salary. So yeah, I was employed, but at the same time I needed to do something because I saw like just doing one thing isn't really for me. I just wanted to explore more and do something like uh to be more creative. Yeah, but it hasn't really affected me, and that's what I would say.
Okay. So for your decision you made after you lost your job. So I'm pretty sure somewhere there you probably thought about applying for another job or doing the business. How hard was this decision to make for you, or was it something easy because, like you said, you had a background of entrepreneurship and you'd been doing it, but in on the side.
Okay. During by the time I was working, I'm not the only person who is into this kind of stories. I have a team. We're working with my sisters. I have a Guli and the other lady. She's called Sophie. Yeah. So if most of the time I used to work. Yeah. So they would be there to help me. Yeah, so that has made it easier. And so during the time that I lost the job, it has made me just to really concentrate on that so much because I didn't have much to do.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Thank you. So yeah, it was. I think it was much easier for you to transition. Does anyone have anything to add on this? Because if you were to have such an experience where you were to lose your job, how Zuhal, could you share on that? Tell me how did you handle how could you handle such an experience?
Honestly, you just have to have a leap of faith and just understand that being an entrepreneur is not an easy step to take until until you have the knowledge that you are going to be broke for some time and not make money right away. You will go ahead and do it. You'll quit your job and just focus on that because you know it'll pay off in the long run. I had a job until last month actually. I was working 11 hours every night and maintaining my business because I didn't have the resources or the funds, from the government. So I knew I had to do this for a while, for at least 3 years, like work for somebody else, and then from there I can do uh, my own thing. At first, I didn't want to actually exit from there because I always told myself, like, this is not steady yet. It's just new. How am I going to eat? How am I going to survive? How am I going to pay my rent? You know what I mean? And then I'm like, okay, like, I really have to leave it because I am not putting my focus on. So how do I? 11 hours of my time is going to somebody else, right? And it's easy money. Like you see money coming in, it's consistent. Like every 2 weeks there's a pay, right? Um, there's a pay going on. So and then when you look at it, you're just like, okay, this is easy. I can depend on this. I cannot depend on my business because I don't know if it's gonna bring in anything. So, but when you understand that this is going to bring something later on and it's going to be worth it, you will leave your job. Even if you didn't have much, you will figure it out. So that's all I just wanted to add.
Okay. So yeah, it wasn't an easy decision to make because you have people telling you all these things and making you think about all these things. I don't just want to make the decision for you, but you need to think about this, just like you mentioned, where you're going to eat, where you're going to sleep, will you have rent, will you have to move back with your parents because, well, profits did not come. And so, yeah, would you say you made the right decision, Zohal?
Yes, I did because I came to an understanding that it's going to take a while for my business to excel, and this is what every entrepreneur has to go through. It doesn't just happen overnight, and I'm okay with it. I'm okay with the decision that I've made. It was a very, very tough decision, but I am happy with it at the end. So
Wow. Estella, I understand you have the same experience, but before I get to you, let me just pose this question to Zuhal from a bit earlier. Now, Estella says, well, she's expanding her business out of South Sudan. Now, Zuhal, being a South Sudanese, are you thinking, I know you shared it earlier, that it's expensive, right? And
mhm.
it's super expensive. But do you still have a plan to find a way of getting into South Sudan? And if you do, how are you planning to do that? Or is it totally off the table because of those expenses?
Actually, I do. I will figure it out, right? Because a lot of my packaging materials come from China. It's cheap. It's quite cheap. It's just again, the shipping. The shipping is quite expensive, but I do. I just wouldn't want to really share it yet on here. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't want to share my plans on here because I do know a lot of people are so into like the beauty industry now, and they wanna
Okay.
like do stuff back home and all of that. So I really wouldn't wanna like
No, I
put my
actually like the fact that you're not demotivated completely from your experience with it's
yeah,
very
I'm
expensive
not.
to
I'm
send
going to
stuff
figure
here.
out a way. Actually, there's so many ways. There's just a lot of ways to go about it. I just have to sit
Okay.
down, figure it out, plan, write down my plans, and just go with it.
Okay. So without sharing your ideas, what advice would you just give some of the South Sudanese in the diaspora who would love to expand into African markets, maybe specifically South Sudan or just Africa? What would you say to them?
I would just stay focused on the quality of your product. Don't rush. Don't go after the money. Take your time with it, and the rest will follow. And branding is very, very important. Make sure your branding is on point and you're using as much social media as possible. Um, to if you have the access, obviously, because social media is the number one marketing tool right now. You don't have to really have $10,000 or I don't know, like $5,000 to start. You can start small and just go. As long as you have the passion for it, you'll get to where you want to be. Just be patient. Focus on the quality of the product and do it because you love it and you enjoy it, not because you're just trying to make money out of it. Because that won't take you far.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, good advice. At the end of the day, you need to love what you do, but you still need to earn from it. So you have to be very sharp about that. Estella, let's get back to you on the employment issue. You said I understand you have some experience on that. So, um, what's the transition like? And yeah, what would you tell someone who's trying to think about leaving their job to go do a business?
Well, I can say that the transition is scary because if you have to move from a place of security and consistency, just the consistency of knowing that you're getting $50, even if it's $50 or 5,000 as a fee, but you know at the end of the month it's coming in. That fear of what if I leave and it doesn't come or I don't get it from the business, it's a very scary one. And I went through that before I decided to move from my job to explore into a runway. So I don't think it's can ever be easy for anyone because changing a routine change is scary as always. But I would still advise that it's important to have an employment, especially if you have entrepreneurship in mind. This is if you're looking at independence. Unless if you're blessed and you do have somebody to finance you, then go ahead and take it. But if you're not, then you need to make sure that you have an employment because there's something about employment. One, it's going to bring you the little capital that you need to start up. And second, it gives you the discipline to know that I must do this at this time, and the experience that you pick from a business and being managed by someone before you can completely venture into managing yourself and a business. So I would advise that you start with that. And then when you do, explore and study the option of entrepreneurship that you want to venture in. Because I don't know what entrepreneurship that you can venture in and instantly make the money. In my case, I can say I've not even started realizing the profits, but I'm very hopeful because this is an industry that I am passionate about, and I know that it can make it. So you have to be willing to move into that, knowing that it's not going to be a bed of roses at the very beginning. It's going to go through a lot of challenges, but you just have to persevere. And when you do get to that stage, just start, but start small, so that in case anything happens, you are not completely shattered, and you can pick yourself up from that.
Wow, that's very good advice. I totally love that. Now, you just need to, at the end of the day, you need to be focused and know what you want, and be very, you know, sharp. I like to say sharp, or is it cunning, like a fox, and just think through how you'll handle when you transition to the other side. I think it's very uncertain when it comes to businesses. It's usually a huge risk to take, and so it's quite a key decision to make. And I'm sure many people go through this dilemma. Now, this is just one of the challenges that is faced. Many people have to think about um, leaving their jobs in order to focus solely on the business. Now, I know many who are handling both. They have a job and then they have a business. And like Esther, there's probably a team that's handling that. But most times, most businesses need a personal touch. And that is one of the main challenges. Now, some of the other challenges that have been mentioned uh, are like getting funding for EVI, it's quite a challenge. Getting your product registered is a challenge that has already been mentioned. We also have the fact of advertising, but for some it became easier after COVID because now you can use social media and everybody's literally there waiting to find out what's new, what's next, what's that. And then another challenge is getting the product out of the country, experienced by Zuhal and Estella. Wow. So, what are some of the challenges you've not mentioned? And we're trying to conclude here. What are some of those challenges, and what would you say um, you have learned from your experience over the years, for as long as you've been in business, and for Eva, as long as you've been managing and directing this organization? What have you learned that you can share with aspiring entrepreneurs out there, with those that are thinking about starting organizations, and yeah, and those that are already there and they're actually struggling right now? So I'm going to start with Esther. If you could share with everyone maybe a challenge that you didn't mention, not one that you already mentioned, one that you haven't mentioned, and just from your experience, what advice would you give as we conclude this session?
Okay, the other challenge that has not been mentioned, let me talk in the entertainment sector, that is for culture trend. Sometimes it becomes a challenge in creating content, and also most of the time we use phone to record the video. Like if you go to our page, we record most of our videos using the our phone. So it's a challenge because the quality of the videos that people are viewing, it's not that good. So yeah, we've tried, we've appealed to some of our friends and families for financial support so that we can be able to get a good camera, a quality camera where we can be able to take good videos, quality videos, so that once we post in our page, it can be able to, go viral and people can be able to watch it. Yeah, so that's the only challenge. Well, my advice to the young entrepreneurs or people who are aspiring to become, as most of the things have been mentioned about being passionate, and also just be prepared to make sacrifice, because being an entrepreneur is really, it comes with a lot of challenges, so you should be able to make a lot of sacrifices and be able to, go through a lot so that your business can be able to be successful. Yeah, and another advice I would ask is try to find a mentor. We have people that we look up to, and people who, we would like to be or to become like them. So let us try and look for mentors so that they may be able to show us, or they may be able to mentor us in a right way, so that we are not we can't make mistakes. So with mentors, they'll be able to guide you on the right path, or so that you can become successful. Yeah, so this is just my advice to you.
Wow, thank you so much, Esther. Let's move on to Eva. Eva, given your experience, tell me what what can you tell the entrepreneurs in South Sudan? But also, if you have a challenge that you haven't mentioned already, you can speak about it and tell us how you handled it.
Yes, thank you very much. So, as a startup organization and as an entrepreneur, you always start somewhere, and it's not always easy, especially if you're to hire a team or a group of people to come and work with you. It gets expensive because you don't know what is the minimum you're supposed to pay them, or are they willing to be there and work and deliver 100%, even with maybe 30% salary, or are they even willing to volunteer their time sometimes? So, as an entrepreneur or someone out there preparing or planning or wants to be an entrepreneur, you should be ready to put in 100 and or 200% of your time as an entrepreneur into your startup. Because if you don't, nobody else is going to do the things the way you want to do them. Sometimes at Go Girls, we try to be very flexible. Even if you're very skilled at being an engineer, sometimes you might have to work as maybe a procurement and logistics officer, because that gap needs to be filled, and the job you want to do, someone else is already doing it, because that's the only way you can be able to run your startup, and at a very low budget. Because if you are coming in and trying to maybe hire people at the start, it could get very expensive and you might not get your return on investment on time. So people need to think of that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Eva. Thank you. That's a wonderful sharing. I think you're one of those people that is very inspirational. Yeah, the field you're in, all of you, it's just amazing. I'm glad to be speaking to, I don't know what to call you, celebrities, creatives, something. Zuhal,
Yeah, I'm just gonna add to that for the entrepreneurs that are in South Sudan, and for the ones who are in North America listening, if you're an entrepreneur out here and you know of anyone that's in Africa and South Sudan, they don't have the resources we have. I'm gonna say this maybe in Arabic. بس يعني ممكن تساعدون بأي حاجة اللي عندك. It could be an advice. يعني بس نصيحة on how to go about it. إنه ممكن يكون لو عندك أي حاجة صغيرة عشان زول يبدأ بو يعني تمكن نفسه business حقه. That would be really good, because we need a lot of that. Sometimes they don't know where to go about it. They're confused. They don't have the confidence. ممكن بس تشجيع بس. If you can reach out and do that. I've done it to a lot of people in the past. It can be as simple as just creating a logo for them or helping them with their business plan or just a small advice will make a huge difference. It will give them the encouragement to start like something. This
Yeah,
تشجيع So yeah.
yeah, support. Okay, so since you're talking, just tell us what is. You can mention the challenge you did mention earlier and how you manage it, but also you can just give general advice to all the entrepreneurs struggling, but also those aspiring to become entrepreneurs.
Yeah, confidence plays a huge role. You have to really have the confidence within yourself. Um, in the beginning, I procrastinated. It's not going to be easy. Like Eva said, you have to put your 200% in it if this is the step that you're going to take. At first, I didn't have that, and I know with everything that's going on and with the challenges that we're facing back home, it's probably a lot more difficult for those who are actually trying to start out. So all I can say is that have confidence. Don't shy away. You can always reach out to people, ask questions, and for those who are here, they have the opportunities. They have the resources. Try to help as much as you can with anything. It can literally be just helping someone with funding, helping them just pay for their logo or something just to help them kickstart their business.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you so much, Suhal. Estella,
Could you
yes.
repeat the question if you want? What was the
So,
question?
yeah, so we're trying to give a final remarks and advice to those who are entrepreneurs and they're struggling, maybe in the same business or other businesses, and they're women. But also, we're looking at sharing some of our challenges because out of the challenge, someone else gets a solution. So, if there's one that you feel is relevant that you haven't shared, maybe you can share it before giving the advice.
I think for me, when we think about entrepreneurship, it's more the foundation of entrepreneurship is the idea and the finances that comes with it, which we have all sort of touched at. And this is why I was advising earlier the importance of getting an employment as you study your idea on what course to take. Because if you do that, you're able to get small capital to start yourself up. I say this because we do not have institutions, in financial institutions in South Sudan that provide loans, or at least that I know of. So if there are no loans, then you need to be able to start somewhere. If you're still lucky and you're able to get somebody that can finance you, then good for you. But do get an employment that can generate you some capital, and then start up after studying your idea. So my advice on everybody that wants to look into entrepreneurship, one is it's not easy, but when you get it right, it brings you freedom, freedom to be creative and freedom to explore in different directions that you could not explore at when you're employed. Um, but it's very difficult. So the difficulty in it is that you invest and keep investing. It takes a lot of investment before you can actually see it materialize. And then you need to be smart by setting, could I say, deadlines? Give each product a certain period of time where you're supposed to expect it to pick up. Unless it's in a time like the pandemic where, a lot of things are disrupted, then the timings change. But you have to give it some time so that after that period of time has elapsed, you look back and see has this taken the direction that I wanted it to. If not, then explore ways to pull out and explore other ideas, other than being stuck at an idea that is not working for you. So that's pretty much what I can say.
Wow. Thank you, Estella. You've made very valid points, and it's actually very, very important. I like the first point you made. It's good to have a source of income that is not necessarily borrowed or from a loan, something that you don't have an what would I say, a negative attachment to because you'd have to pay it back. So if you had a job, you'd be able to provide your capital from there. But we had a question earlier from a Czech on Facebook. A Czech Abiet is saying, great discussion, ladies. And his question is, could you advise aspiring entrepreneurs on how they can access loan facilities, financial assistance in South Sudan for startups? Well, here in South Sudan, I believe most banks do offer loans. There are terms and conditions that apply. And if there's anything else, I'm pretty sure South Sudan women intellectuals will reply to you with more details on the Facebook post. But one thing I think I would advise on is women having SACCO groups. There's an Arabic word for it. I'm trying to remember. What's the Arabic word for it? Uh, yeah, so they have
I think
sanduk.
it's called
Sanduk?
Sanduk.
Yes, that's
Sanduk?
it. I was trying to.
Yeah.
Yes, sanduk. So this sanduk is where people come together, and every month they have like a specific amount. So there's a specific number of people. Say if you're six people, you have a specific amount that you contribute, and say if it's £200 per month, that means if you all contribute as six people, that's £1,200, and then one person gets it for the next. Each person gets it for the next 6 months, and that is actually a very good thing. I'm just adding to what Zuhal said. If there's an opportunity to help someone and contribute to them, this is one of the ways. And it has rules and there's accountability. I think this is something people could actually adopt very much. Also, if I'm to just go through some information that I have here, there are programs in South Sudan. One of them is South Sudan Development Plan, and the government has expressed commitment to include gender consideration in the planning process. And so this is supposed to help in the economic development pillar, and it prioritizes rural development and also emphasizes the gendered approach to development, which means including women and all gender that is currently recognized around the world. And so this justifies the gender emphasis on the high prevalence of female households in South Sudan. And additionally, the government will have policies and legislations that have highlighted the importance of promoting women's economic rights. And so the microfinance policy, this also includes the trade policy. These are examples of initiatives to acknowledge the gendered nature of economic development practices. And some of these, like, parents not allowing their girls all business. We also have husbands who do not want their wives to work, and something Estella has tried to approach and work with and make sure she employs wives because it's actually very good to contribute to the family as a wife. And so, yeah, so such practices need to be eradicated. It will take time, but the government is showing a positive approach to it. And so, yeah, this is just some of the things that's happening. There's been discussions on land ownership of land as well. Land is very crucial when it comes to the economic development as well as entrepreneurship, and so that's something that we hope will progress well and will have positive impact. And yes, so this generally brings us to the end of our discussion today. We hope that at a separate time we will have another discussion and delve deeper into other topics. And yeah, but I would like to acknowledge how brave you are, Estella, Eva, Esther, Zuhal. I'm still thinking about starting my business. I have a business idea, and all of you are going to be my mentors. And so just brace yourselves because I'm going to be asking a lot of questions. And so, yeah, so thank you so much for being inspirational and for being part of the conversation. It's been very I've been very honored to have this conversation with you. Thank you to South Sudan Women Intellectuals Forum for holding such for providing such platforms for so many to learn and share experiences to develop us as women, but also the country at large, because we as women contribute to the development of the country, not just socially, not just in the family, but economically as well as politically. We have an impact to have on the country. And so we thank you. And even the world. I mean, Zuhal is out there in Canada making a difference. And so, uh, so we've come to the end of this discussion. Thank you to UN Women for allowing the discussion to happen at the promises as well. And so we are grateful for that. Until next time, I am Lucy Kiden. You can always call me Lulu. I'm on Facebook as Kiden Lulu, and I have been your moderator for today. And so, just to say bye bye, we could all wave again. You all have to do exercise for your wrists. It's very important for your health.